And it goes back into the song and it's building again. And, and then that second.
It's showtime, folks.
Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Into the Music. I'm here with the dynamic and an amazing and multi-talented John Taskmaster. Give it up.
Greetings.
The hell? I just gave you an amazing entrance.
Thank you very much.
You're like that Michigan J Frog or something like that, or was in the Bugs Bunny cartoon when like he could sing "Hello, my honey, hello, my baby," and they pull him out of the box and he goes, "Ribbit." You know that cartoon?
No, I don't. I always thought I was
well, that's
like...
you. you the frog. Ribbit.
Hello, my baby. Hello, my honey. Hello, my ragtime gal. Send me a kiss by wire. Baby, my heart's on fire. If you refuse me, honey, you lose me. Then you'll be left alone. Oh, baby, telephone and tell me I'm your own.
You're the frog. Ribbit.
I always felt like when I was younger, I was like Gonzo out of the Muppet Show. But now I feel like I'm Waldorf and Stadler up in the balcony, just going, "Hey, this is."
That's great.
I love that show so much.
Well,
it's in space.
Talking about loving something, I think I'm going to give you a song by a band that I don't think you love that much. From our discussions, I've learned pretty quickly that you're not a Rolling Stones fan.
Okay, I have to clarify this. I think they're all right.
Own it.
I do think they are overrated. They're not a great, they're not the greatest rock and roll band. They're the oldest, I'll give you that, but they're not the greatest. And all this nonsense about people saying, "Oh, you can only like the Stones or the Beatles" is absolute rubbish, And if I'm being brutally honest, they're not in the same league,
Yeah.
But they're decent, and there's a few of their songs I do like, I just don't like all the hype about how they're, the greatest thing, they're decent.
We'll get into stuff. I mean, my hands were there. There.
Yeah.
There's this whole thing, this sort of myth that, if you're a Beatles fan, you're not a Rolling Stones fan. I mean, I love the Beatles and I really, really, really like the Stones. And there's a certain period of time that I love the Stones the most, from like 70, late 69, 70 through 74. And yeah, and that's because of a particular guy named Mick Taylor. That I think that he was an amazing presence on that band. He made them more musical and melodic and the whole thing, and he could play the shit out of his guitar. And so there's a song, it's actually my favorite, my favorite Rolling Stones song. And that's saying a lot because I love a lot of this stuff. But the song is called Sway. And it's actually the sort of lesser known. I mean, Stones fans, like, I know it, but, to non-Stones fans, they'd be like, what? Which is cool. It fits within the channel. And so, I don't know how you're going to like it, how you're going to, but yeah, I love it that much.
So it's that period, is it?
Yeah.
So it's not on Let It Bleed. I know that because I know that album.
Sticky Fingers,
is it? Right.
71.
I don't really know that album.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So I'm really giving you something personal because this is one of those, like, you know, I mean, you got to be real. No, you got to keep it real. So if you don't like it, you don't like it, you know. But I'm like, yeah, you know, I'm giving so much of what I love on this channel. I might as well be consistent and give it a shot with this one. So I bequeath to you Sway from Rolling Stones. Go check it out.
Okay,
and bring it. And bring it. Yeah. I want to know your honest opinion, which I know you will bring it.
Okay, so it's got quite a standard feel to it. Jagger's vocals are okay. Sometimes they're funny and sometimes they're annoying. I really liked there was like piano and something else going on in the background. It's just lifted it a bit. That was really nice. Okay, let's see how it progresses. Sorry, really nice drum fills there, Charlie Watts, who is a superb drummer. And there's just little touches there of like orchestration I heard. Really brief, but just little bits at the end of lines. I think that was a Mick Taylor there. That was a lovely guitar solo. Nothing too flashy, just beautiful tone, and all too brief. We've done a minute of that, but superb, superb.
Riding the bed next to mine. Someone that broke me off with a phone up. I was fine, yeah. It's just that evil life that got me this way. It's just that evil life that got me this way. It's just that
starting the long slow fade. I don't want to know how it ends just yet. That was freaking superb. I thought the first solo was nice. I didn't realize there's another one coming. That's really good. And Charlie Watts. That sounds fantastic. I'm struggling to think of a better song with his drumming showcase like that. I mean, it's always good. That last minute and a half, it's freaking awesome. Totally. It's great.
Oh shit! How long? That's how long you been sitting there?
And long enough to know where the bodies are burned.
Can you ring the into the music doorbell or something?
Drag, time to put your trousers back on.
How'd you know?
That second premium camera that you pay more.
Make sure
for.
that camera's going straight up. How long are you sitting there?
It felt like a lifetime.
All right. Are you ready to get into the song now? Oh, wait. You got something? Yeah.
Yeah. You said about that. It just reminds me when I used to work at this place where we had a boss, the MD, and we used to call him Mr. Burns, right from The Simpsons, because he'd turn up and, excellent. But he would literally turn up out of nowhere. You'd be sitting at your desk and suddenly he'd be there.
Yeah.
And we thought he had a series of these lifts, secret lifts and air tubes, and it would drop him down in front and he'd just appear. It was creepy as hell. So if I could do a bit of that for you, then my pleasure.
Yeah, I could show up actually in my
Now, wouldn't that be something? I know where you live.
Oh my god.
When are we gonna do a ting tings?
You would see me lift up because of the shit that it would just be pushing me right up into the ceiling. Whoa.
I'm your number one fan.
All right.
Anyway,
well, now that everyone just ran, let's try to bring them back. We're going to talk about the song now. Come on back. What'd you think? Wait, let me get ready.
Okay. So it starts off and it pretty much kicks straight into this sort of blues driven, nice riff, really nice bluesy guitar. There's that sort of, I would call it like a boozy piano going, it's a nightclubby feel.
Yeah.
And it's that when I say nightclub, I mean I'm thinking New Orleans type, club. Yeah. And there's a hint of a country twanged guitar. I don't think it's a slide guitar, but it's really high. It's just doing notes as well over the top. And then Jagger starts singing. I think I said in the reaction, sometimes he gets away with it and sometimes He doesn't. I can find his vocals effective, and I can also find them annoying sometimes, his affectations and the way he does stuff. And I think on the slower songs, it kind of annoys me more. This was fine, though. It wasn't really annoying. It's just the odd little phrase, I did write it down. And flinging tears out on the dusty ground. The way he says that, it's really annoying.
For my friends out on the ground.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So that was it was all right, though. And then he goes into the phrase which keeps on going. It's just that demon life that's got you in its sway. Yeah. And he's really pleased with that line, obviously. And it has those connotations, and he's sort of slipped the word demon life.
He should be pleased. I think that's an amazing line, actually.
Yeah. And it's got that sort of, semi-satanic stuff that they were flirting with at the time, which was really pretty much made up and all that, but it was it didn't harm them in any way. But it was really interesting, real slight touches of orchestration just going on, and it kind of came in and fleeting and went away again. Right. And it was very teasing, and I really like that. So the overall feel of the song was really nice and pleasant. And again, they had that female backing vocals, which they started, I think, in Let It Bleed, which I really like as well, so that was great. Leading up to the first solo, so the drums were superb. He's such a good drummer. He's probably the best musician in the whole band, apart from going to Mick Taylor. Charlie, I really, really rate him as a drummer. I really do.
Yeah.
So then we get into the first solo, and I didn't know it was the first of two at the time. So I mean, this is lovely, really good, beautiful tone. It's kind of lazy in a way, but it's just got everything about it. And then it bloody stops, and I'm thinking, what?
That's a bottleneck. That's a bottleneck. Bottleneck slide. Yeah.
It's just lovely. I mean, I've never, I dabbled with the guitar many years ago.
Yeah.
And, 6 chords in the Beatles songbook, so I never played that. So I don't know how technically difficult it is, but it's just sounded wonderful. But
as the piano was tinkling too, as he's doing that bottleneck slide, it starts to go into that. And if you were to go back and listen to it again, you hear like that piano.
But it's really percussive, that piano.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like they're almost like not hammering it, but it's like really quick hands up and down,
Yeah.
Which is like that honky tonk feel.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which they were dabbling in around that time.
Honky
Tonk Woman. Honky Tonk Woman was actually one of Mick Taylor's first songs that he recorded with the Stones. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Really. So then I had a little bit of a whinge because it just went. I didn't know about the second one, you see. So, right. And then it goes back into the song and it's building again, and and then that second guitar comes in. And which is really nice is the vocals fade as well. So Mick's gone, which is great. And it's just fantastic. And not only does he bring it almost, there's a point after about 10, 15 seconds where he thinks, sod it, I'm going to do all the notes. I'm going to do exactly. And he really goes into overdrive. It's beautifully fast, but it is still fluid. It's not sort of crazy stuff, it's not, no offense, but Eddie Van Halen or anything like that, but it is still really beautiful. I mean, it totally got me. It's absolutely wonderful, and the orchestration kicks in again all too briefly, probably like 4-6 bars, that's all, but it really swirls at that point. And then you have like the piano for about 2 bars going crazy, and then just stops as well. And then the drumming is just going into overdrive. He's doing all these. He's doing these changes, and he's doing these fills, and they're all different. It's really, really brilliant. And the word that came to mind was his majesty. It was just a great. That last 2 minutes was superb, and it won me over as the song did. Wow. I thought the first half of the song was okay. I wouldn't have said it's anything special, but it was a nice feel to it, nice sound. You know, it's certainly something I wouldn't turn off. But the second half just completely won me over. I think it was brilliant.
It's really interesting. The song itself, as they created it and as it was before the final product.
Yeah.
It's an okay song to me.
Yeah.
The lyrics are kind of interesting. I do love that line. It is kind of, it's telling, I think, because he's coming at a time where Hendrix is dying. I mean, Brian Jones, had passed away in 69. This is, I think, 71 when this was recorded, 70, 71. I think Hendrix is gone by that time. Joplin's gone, so he's talking about seeing all my friends out on the burial ground, but like in that very can't you just play a little more straight? But that's it. I mean, I love what he's singing about, because it's real. But the song itself is like, okay, but like what Mick Taylor does with those guitar parts, the piano, that's like brilliant. The orchestration, Paul John Buckmaster, Grammy Award-winning British cellist, arranger, conductor, and composer over 5 decades. He's the one who splashed in that sort of orchestration that you would hear, especially,
it comes in waves, doesn't it?
Especially as Watts is kind of doing those fills and rolls into the next, then you hear that and it comes in and then it pulls back and that solo at the end, and that first one's like an appetizer. You taste the chicken wings, you're like, oh my god, that's really good. I need more. And then he comes in with the prime rib or something. I mean, it's just amazing. The aged, the Angus beef or something like that. And it keeps coming. All right, it's actually, you ever go to like one of those meat places, where they have the red light and the green light, and if you do your chip and it's green, they just keep on pouring the meat on your plate. You've been
all right, yeah. No, I haven't, but yeah.
That's, to me, Mick Taylor's solo on this. It just keeps coming,
Yeah.
It just keeps coming. It keeps coming. And almost as though him almost driving a stick shift, it's kind of, it's actually Taylor who's kind of like shifts it here, and the car kind of takes that momentary, and then it goes in, and then boom, and just when you think he's pulling back, and then he goes in again. I mean, I love that solo. It is, and me, I mean, I go on and on about solos, and there's zillions of solos that I've listened to, that I've seen, and like that, heard. This is actually my favorite. This is my favorite. It is my favorite solo. I need a solo to lift me up. I come to the song. It takes my breath. It takes my breath away every single time. The magic of music, the power of it. It really is. It's just to kind of like have you wanting more. I can't listen to this just once. I'll go back to it and then I'll like play it 3 or 4 or 5 times. I just love the damn thing. This was a B-side to Wild Horses, the single in June 71. But then Wiki says it's a single that was only released in the US only. So I don't know about that. And so they definitely identify the song as a slower blues song. And you're right. When those slower songs, Jagger doesn't pull back. He continues to kind of like, as though he's singing like, Brown Sugar, and it's like, you need to kind of pull it back a bit, so especially in the beginning, I feel like the vocals are grating on me, but I think the song gets better if you go back and listen to it. It actually starts off slow. It picks up in pace. It does. I think because, and here's the thing too, this might shock you, but this was Mick Jagger's first record where he's actually recorded playing rhythm guitar. That's him playing the rhythm.
Really?
Yeah. Now, maybe Richards came in and he, but I think Richards, they were kind of dealing with their drug issues and stuff like that. And who knows where Richards was, and he might be playing some of it, but I think that main guitar, that rhythm guitar, that's Jagger. That's Jagger.
Really?
Yeah.
So, because I'm just thinking, when was that notorious time when Richards was arrested in Canada for a
I
heroin.
think it was maybe after recording of this album.
Right. Yeah.
This album was actually, this was recorded at Stargroves, and Stargroves, the Stargrove House. And you probably could tell me about it maybe, but it's a manor house associated estate at East Woodhay in the English county of Hampshire, or Hampshire, Shire. Hampshire,
All
of
right.
course.
I will give you a very quick English lesson, Greg.
Yes.
Right. This is like common mistake. I'll do very quickly. English is not the same as American, as we all know. So we're lazy in the way we pronounce things. So if you see a word, a place name that ends in Shire, all right, you pronounce the word, if you see it, Shire, or in Lord of the Rings, the Shires. But when you see something like Hampshire, you pronounce it Shire.
Okay.
Hampshire.
Hampshire.
You know, Lincolnshire, Yorkshire. That's
Yorkshire.
it. And it's the same with ham. So if you see a word, a place name with ham at the end, we pronounce it So it's Birmingham, Buckingham Palace, not Buckingham. You guys are trying to. It's yeah. That's it.
Give me that.
So you'll sound more British when you go, oh yeah, I've been to Birmingham. You know, it's
It's like I'm having a stroke, like Hampshire.
Exactly.
Hampshire.
Yeah. We're just lazy. We don't pronounce it properly.
All right.
You know?
Okay.
Anyway, yeah. Back to the record.
So, yeah, running for the doors again. Come back. There's more. So yeah, it was actually recorded at that manor, at that house. And before I actually leave this page here that I'm looking at, Ian Patrick McLagan was an English keyboardist. He's the guy who's actually playing piano in the song. He was best known as a member of the English rock band Small Faces and Faces.
Ah,
Isn't that
right.
cool? Yeah.
Steve Marriott, yeah.
The thing about Taylor is that this kid, he was like 19 years old, and he's playing with John Mayall's Blues Breakers from 67 to 69. He's this teenager. He's teenager prodigy guitarist or whatever, and he's just wailing the shit blues notes coming out of like wherever, you know, like an old soul. And
are you familiar with the John Mayall Blues Breakers?
Yeah.
I mean, there are a lot of great guitarists. Clapton, obviously. But,
exactly.
It's
and this kid,
band.
Teenager, and he's playing with that band. So here's the thing with the Stones, right? So after Brian Jones and the Rolling Stones, right? So they fired Jones before he died.
Yes,
I mean, I'm sure you know that.
Just before he
died,
yeah.
I don't know how many people know that, right? So Jones is actually fired. And I think that sort of, he spirals kind of into more of a kind of, and he dies, right? But before he dies, right, they're looking for another guitarist. And so John Mayall and Ian Stewart actually was he was an original Rolling Stone member, but management didn't like the way he looked, so he kind of like stayed behind the scenes. So they told the Stones about this kid, you know, and so the Stones were really intrigued. So they go and they see him play, and they're really impressed. And so Jagger and Richards actually invites Taylor back the next day to sort of rehearse. And they wind up actually, he overdubs guitar on Country Honk and Live and Live With Me. And that's for the album Let It Bleed.
Yeah.
And then he actually plays on a single, Honky Tonk Woman. You know, if you kind of like, you know, think about that guitar part, whatever, you know, that's Taylor. And so then he plays at that free concert in Hyde Park. An estimated 250,000 people attended for a show that turned into a tribute for Brian Jones, who had died 2 days before. Yeah, he's 20 years old and he's playing. So just before the release of the album in October 74, Taylor told Nick Kent from New Musical Express about the new LP, and that he had co-written Till the Next Goodbye and Time Waits for No One with Jagger. Kent told Taylor he had seen the finished artwork for the sleeve, which revealed the absence of any songwriting credits for Taylor. So here he's telling New Musical Express, I wrote these two songs, or co-wrote. And the guy's like, I got to tell you, you know, you're not on there as, you know, credited songwriter. So, quote from Mick Taylor, we used to fight and argue all the time. And one of the things I got angry about was that Mick Jagger had promised to give me some credit for some of the songs, and he didn't. I believe I contributed enough. Let's put it this way: without my contribution, those songs would not have existed. There's not many, but enough. Things like Sway and Moonlight Mile on Sticky Fingers and a couple of others. So I mean, I could definitely see that happening. I mean, I believe Mick Taylor.
Yeah.
I mean, give me a fucking break, if he's contributing the music, and I think a few lines, from what I understand, he contributed a few lines here and there, and that to me makes sense too with Sway. He's probably connected to the song. He's feeling it. It feels like he has his handprints on the damn song, and he just absolutely puts his whole soul into those solos. That second solo, I mean, yeah. And to not give him any credit on it. And so in 74, Taylor announces he's leaving the Rolling Stones. The bandmates were at a party in London, and that's when Taylor told Jagger that he's quitting and just walked right out. It shocked the whole band. And when interviewed by Jan Wenner of Rolling Stone in 95, Wenner wrote that Jagger had stated that Taylor never explained why he had left, and surmised that, quote, Taylor wanted to have a solo career. I think he found it difficult to get on with Keith. But in the same interview, Jagger says this: I think he had a big contribution. He made it very musical. He was very fluent, melodic player, which we never had, and we don't have now. That's 1995. This is like years after, Ronnie Wood's been playing with the band, which is like, I totally agree. And that's why I really struggled to really get into the Stones after Taylor left. I mean, there's a few good songs here and there, but nothing like what they created in that sort of that 3-4 year span when Taylor was on the band.
Yeah, I agree with you. I haven't done a deep dive into sort of that, but for me, I don't think they've done a decent song since about 73.
And here's
honestly.
And he had this to say too. This is Jagger. This is like truth serum. Maybe a few drinks, whatever. He goes, neither Keith nor Ronnie Wood plays that kind of style.
No.
It was very good for me working with him. Mick Taylor would play very fluid lines against my vocals. He was excited and he was very pretty. And it gave me something to follow to bang off. Some people think that's the best version of the band that existed. And this is the wiki that I'm reading off of. Asked if he agreed with that assessment, where people say that's the best version of the band, which I totally say. Jagger says, quote, I obviously can't say if I think Mick Taylor was the best because it sort of trashes the period that the band is in now. Yeah. Charlie Watts stated, I think we chose the right man for the job. And at that time, just as Ronnie was the right man for the job later on. Very diplomatic. That's the kind of guy that Charlie Watts was, right? I still think Mick is great. I haven't heard or seen him play in a few years, but certainly what came out of playing with him are musically some of the best things we've ever done. And Richards even had some nice things to say. He said, Mick Taylor and I worked really well together. He had some lovely energy, sweetly sophisticated playing, way beyond his years. Yeah, I mean, this young kid, just where's the stuff coming from? Lovely sense of melody. I never understood why he left the Stones. I think you do. Nor does he, I think. I think he's maybe saying that he regrets probably leaving. I had no desire to see him go. I don't think they were trying to get him out, but I don't think they were treating him right. And so I think they're culpable in that way. And just last thing on this. And you had asked me recently, I don't know if it was a recorded episode or just in discussion, why I thought Taylor left. And I had said to you that there was also concerns about drugs and stuff like that. Like, I think he was worried about his drug usage in the band. And so the same article here, it says, Taylor later admitted in the 2012 documentary Crossfire Hurricane that he left because he wanted to protect his family from the drug culture surrounding the band. He further stated that in order to stay alive and fight his own demons, Taylor, actually, is what Wiki's saying, Taylor had turned into a drug addict himself by 73. He needed to escape the realm of the Stones.
Yeah.
Just fascinating stuff. It really, yeah. So I think he had to get out. I think it was a lose-win situation. Probably did save his life and his relationships and stuff like that at that time. And it got him drug-free. Then it was a win. But I think that I don't think the band was, even though they say they were shocked and missed him like that, I don't think they treated him right. No. I mean, to kind of go another 25 to 30 years and not even like try to reach out to him and see how he's doing. I know that I believe that he did sort of hit some rough times. Um, playing pubs and stuff like that. Like, I think that there were regrets on Taylor's part, even though I think it probably was the right move. But I think maybe the way those Stones treated him or didn't treat him, almost like as though he didn't exist. I really like they kind of ghosted him. And then in 2012, I think, I don't know, God, because I'm looking at Wiki and it's saying that that's when Taylor toured around with the band again and did some gigs here and there. I mean, I remember seeing a few things, but 2012, it seems just like only yesterday or something like that. I don't know, but so you got to give them a lot of credit for sort of getting him for their 50 years, in existence as a band, to get him part of that because he was. So I give them a lot of credit. I don't know if it was management he was kind of pushing for that, or the band members said, "Let's do it." I don't know, And when I say band, I mean I think Charlie Watts is exempt from the whole thing, And Ron Wood replaced Mick Taylor, so I don't think Ron Wood's gonna be like, where's Mick Taylor? Let's bring him in. But who knows? But I'm glad that
Yeah.
he was able to kind of come back and do some of those gigs with them like that and get recognition. And I think the younger fans who bought into the whole emperor with no clothes on kind of thing with the Stones over the last 25 years, not putting out a lot of great music, and you're still thinking they're amazing. Their live performances are amazing. I think a lot of it's sloppy. Sorry, Stones fans, but that said, I'm so glad they did the right thing and that Mick Taylor was part of that Crossfire Hurricane, though, that documentary. That is amazing. That's great. That's fascinating stuff. And I think that tour overall, I think that's probably one of their better tours. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, it's interesting all the things you said there. I mean, like him feeling like he had to get out. I mean, I know from some interviews and things that, the way they run the band is like a business and they're very controlling over their images and what's let's let loose and what isn't. There was a really interesting. My best mate used to have like a study. And in that study, he had this poster. I think it was a page cut out from a Sunday supplement. And it was a picture of Keith Richards every year from like 63. And you see him go from this angelic looking sort of choir boy.
Yes.
I mean, he was a pretty boy back then. And then so you see it hit the 70s and he becomes this walking dead zombie. And he does come through a little bit, but you can see the damage it's done to him.
He abused the shit out of his body. His mind still came out intact, but it was just. Yeah. But I think there was, out of that is paranoia. I think, if you're around him, I can imagine him sort of not not treating Mick that nicely. He probably looks back on and says, I was okay to him. Like he does in a lot of things, it's like, oh, he wants to leave. That's almost like, someone left because of him. It's like, oh, well, that was his move, not mine. I had nothing to do with it. He was a nice bloke. I like playing with him. I enjoyed him, it's like, yeah, but I mean, what was going on back then, they were all like in a drug stupefied state. They really were, and yeah. You mentioned about Charlie Watts before we sort of wrap this up. You mentioned about Charlie Watts drumming. I got to tell you, I think that he does the best drumming on this song. Yeah, his drumming.
I think I said in the reaction, I struggled to think of another song of theirs where he's really prominent like that and really cuts loose. So yeah, I was thinking exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if I said it in the reaction, but I was definitely, I might have done, or I was definitely thinking it. It's one of the best examples of him cutting loose because he's a great drummer, but
Yeah, I mean, Paint the Black sort of sticks out as a song that his drumming is fantastic. Midnight Rambler, and in the studio version, when Jagger starts to ramp it up and starts to kind of yell into the mic and sort of, I mean, his drum rolls, his fills in there are, it's so good. It's so good. He gets, when he gets into a song, buys into it. Yeah. And I'm sure that I think his drumming got better as the song went on. I think this overall song Sway gets better as it goes on. It starts,
definitely.
Jagger's rhythm guitar playing sort of kicks into gear and everything. And because I think once Taylor did that bottleneck slide, it kind of like after that, it became a whole different song. Everybody, I think it just clicked. And it just took off after that. And Watts was like totally, I mean, that's the thing too. As I'm absolutely going crazy with the guitar solo, I'm totally in tune with Watts drumming. The Watts drumming elevates me too. The whole thing of like, I want more. I'm almost exhausted, after every song. I love it. Watts drumming is also part of that.
Yeah.
And the orchestration and the piano, like it was 2 minutes of blissful music. Like, holy shit. Anyway, I'm so glad you enjoyed this. Oh man, that makes me so happy. I took a chance. I rolled the freaking dice, and John Taskmaster.
I would say there's a few Stone songs I really love. I mean, my favorite is "Give Me Shelter."
Yeah, that's great.
I think that's a masterpiece. But there's some stuff which other people rate and I don't. But I think it's okay. I wouldn't say they're a rubbish band. They're not. They're a really good band, but they're not top tier for me. They're decent. But I really enjoyed this, and this would be added amongst my sort of mental collection of Stones songs that I like a lot. This is definitely in there now. So thank you for introducing Sway into my life.
You're welcome. Yeah, mental collection. I think there's some mental collection going on in there. I shudder to think what else you're collecting in there.
Collecting names.
You want to take us out? I mean, don't take me out, but just take us out.
Well, thanks, Greg, and everybody else. I hope you enjoyed that and our ramblings. Let us know what you think. There must be some opinions there, and I'm sure there are a lot of Stones fans out there, so you can tell me how wrong I am about all their back catalogue and how they're amazing stuff from the 80s, 90s. Just let us know what you think. We'd love to hear from you. If you haven't hit the like button already, what the hell are you waiting for? Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. That being said, thanks very much. We really appreciate all your input, and we will see all of you on the next episode of Into the Music.